The great hall of the Zalari Empire was quiet, filled with cold silver light from the floating crystals above. Queen Thalshara sat on her tall throne, carved from living stone. Her violet eyes were calm, but her heart raced with fear. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. Just hours earlier, her only daughter, Princess Varelia, had attended a peace summit on the neutral space station Iran Gate. She had gone with honor, speaking of hope and unity among the stars. She never came back, and now the queen faced her advisors, her generals, and her fears. "We have confirmed the transmission," said High Commander Velcran, bowing low. "The Skarn Dominion took her. They bypassed station defenses with cloaked ships and disappeared into their own space." The words hit like a thunder strike. The Skarn Dominion were not just enemies. They were monsters of war, creatures who respected only power and conquest. They had once burned 10 Zalari colonies in a single solar cycle. No one dared challenge them directly. A hushed silence filled the room. No one spoke. No one offered a solution. No one dared suggest war not. Yet, the queen's fingers tightened around the armrest of her throne. "They have my daughter," she said quietly, "and you suggest we do nothing, Majesty." So one of her advisors carefully, "If we act too soon, they will execute her, or worse. They will use her as a symbol, a weapon against us." The queen stood. Her long robe flowed behind her like a wave of stars. "She is not just my daughter. She is heir to the Zalari throne. She is hope. If they destroy her, they destroy our future." Still, no one moved. Fear had silenced even the boldest of warriors. And then, from the back of the hall, a voice spoke. "I'll go." All heads turned. A lone human stepped forward, tall, broad-shouldered, with short dark hair and a sharp scar over his left eye. He wore no armor, just a long coat and boots that had walked through many worlds. Queen Thalshara narrowed her eyes. "Who are you?" "Commander Elias Ward," the human said. "Former Special Forces, Terran Defense Corps. I've fought the Skarn before. I know their tactics. I know their space." The room stirred with murmurs. A human, one of the younger species. How could he even dare speak here? "You think you can do what we cannot?" the queen asked. Voice cold. "I don't think. I know," Ward replied, steady. "I've lost friends to the Skarn. I've bled fighting them, and I've seen what they do to prisoners. I'm not here to beg for war. I'm offering you a chance, one warrior, one ship. Quiet, fast, I'll get her back." High Commander Velcran stepped forward angrily. "This is not your war, human. It became mine the moment the Skarn started breaking peace." Ward shot back. "And your war council is too scared to move. That girl needs someone now, not in 10 days after." Debates and meetings. The queen studied him. There was something in his voice. Not pride, not arrogance, just truth. A hard truth from a man who had seen too much. "What do you want in return?" she asked finally. "Nothing," Ward said. "Just a chance to do what's right." The queen's eyes flickered. She looked at her daughter's empty throne beside her own. Then she nodded once, sharply. "You'll be given a ship-hand old scout vessel. It's fast, but has no weapons. Stealth systems still work." Ward nodded. "You will have 3 days." She continued. "After that, I will be forced to act. If you fail, I won't fail," he said, later. In the hangar bay, the queen watched as the human prepared his ship. His movements were calm, focused. He had done this many times before. "You are bold, human," she said quietly, approaching him. "I've been called worse," Ward replied. "She means the galaxy to me," Thalshara said, her voice softer now. "She's not just my daughter. She believes in peace. Even when I don't, bring her home." Ward looked her in the eye. "I'll bring her back." He climbed into the small scout ship. The engines hummed softly. A moment later, the ship rose from the deck and vanished into the stars, leaving only silence behind. Far away, deep in the dark space beyond known maps, a Skarn battleship floated in silence. Inside, behind thick walls and energy fields, Princess Varelia sat alone in a cold chamber. Her wrists were bound in silver cuffs, her breath fogged in the chilled air. But her spirit did not break. She had already memorized the guard patrols. She had already found a loose panel in the wall. And she had already sworn she would escape or die trying. Then, she felt something strange, just a flicker, a distant tremor in the ship's systems. Something was coming, something the Skarn hadn't expected. Elias Ward leaned back in the pilot's seat of the small Solari scout ship, eyes watching the endless field of stars. The vessel was quiet and smooth, perfect for stealth missions, but it felt almost too clean for him. He was used to rust, noise, and war-damaged ships. Still, this one would have to do. He tapped the screen in front of him, pulling up the map of Skarn space. There were red zones everywhere, warning signs, blocked routes. Military patrols. The Skarn Dominion had built a wall of death around their territory. Anyone who entered uninvited rarely returned. Ward didn't care. He wasn't planning on coming back empty-handed. His mission was clear. Find Princess Varelia, get her out, alive, and return before the Zalari Empire made any move that could trigger war. He had 3 days. That was all. As the ship crossed into restricted space, alarms blinked briefly, then faded. The stealth field was holding, for now, on the Skarn warship Karnak's Fist. The air was heavy with tension. Deep inside the dark, gold prison deck, Princess Varelia sat on the metal floor, her eyes closed, her mind calm. She was not afraid. She was angry. She had tried to speak reason to the Skarn leaders at the summit. They had ignored her, then kidnapped her. Now, they kept her here like a trophy, waiting for the right moment to use her as a political tool. But the Skarn didn't know who they had taken. Varelia was not just royalty. She was a trained scholar, a strategic thinker, and a survivor. She had already memorized every guard rotation and every sound of the ship's engines. She knew when power levels dropped, when the lights flickered, and when the guard outside her door yawned the loudest. And then, without warning, she felt something change. The ship vibrated just slightly, not from regular flight. Something was here, something new. She opened her eyes. Ward's ship slid between two massive asteroid fields, hiding from Skarn radar. He spotted the warship anchored near a frozen moon. Its engines were in standby mode. A perfect opportunity. He brought the scout ship lower, flying silently. He activated a signal jammer and disabled all small alarms near the hull. Then, using a magnetic grappler, he latched onto the ship's underside. From there, he suited up. His armor was lightweight, black and gray. No markings, only function. He checked his weapons, just a stun rifle and a blade. Loud weapons were risky inside. A Skarn ship. He entered through a maintenance duct, tight, narrow, and filled with sharp wires. The route reminded him of the old Terran bunkers. Claustrophobic, ugly, but safe from detection. Ward moved like a ghost, following a stolen blueprint in his helmet display. It had taken him months to gather such intel back when he fought during the Skarn border raids. That war had been ugly, but it had taught him everything he needed now. Inside her cell, Varelia heard the faint hiss of air pressure shifting in the wall. Her ears perked up. She stood slowly, approaching the far corner. Her hands were still, bound, but her mind was sharp. Then clang. A panel slid open. A shadow stepped inside. She backed up, her eyes glowing with warning. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure stepped into the dim light. "Name's Ward," he said calmly. "I'm here to take you home." Varelia blinked. "You're human." "That's right." She looked at him with suspicion. "Why? Would a human risk everything to save a Zalari princess?" "I don't work for your empire," he said. "But I know the Skarn, and I know they don't care about rules, peace, or honor. They just take what they want. I've seen them do it before." "Not again." For a moment, she didn't move. Then she asked, "Do you have a plan?" "Of course," Ward said with a small grin. "Step 1, get you out of here. Step 2, don't." Daichi almost laughed, but instead, she nodded. "Fine. Let's go." They moved quickly through the back corridors. Ward disabled cameras and stunned the guards along the way. Varelia stayed close, still silent, but watching him closely. He wasn't like the arrogant human she had read about. He was careful, precise, How did you even get on this ship? She whispered. Don't worry about it. He replied, I've slipped into worse places before. The real trick is getting out. As they neared the docking sector, an alarm blared. Warning, unauthorized breach detected. Ward cursed under his breath. They found the ship. What now? Varelia asked. We go loud, he said. They sprinted through the lower deck. Skarn soldiers started closing in. Ward fired his stun rifle with perfect aim, dropping enemies left and right. Varelia grabbed a fallen energy baton and swung it hard at a soldier, trying to flank Ward. He turned to see her standing over the body, breathing hard. Nice hit, he said. I trained for this, she replied. Together, they reached the escape hatch, but their ship was surrounded. Ward activated a backup beacon, and the scout ship still attached to the Skarn hull detached and flew downward toward them. Autopilot engaged. Jump, Ward shouted. He grabbed her hand, and together they leaped into the docking tunnel just as Skarn soldiers opened fire. The ship sealed, lifted, and vanished into the cold black of space, leaving only flashing red lights and angry voices behind. On the flight back, Ward sat on the floor of the ship, breathing heavily. Varelia stood nearby, watching him. You risked your life, she said. You didn't have to. Yeah, he said, rubbing his shoulder. But sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't need a reason. She looked at him for a long moment. Thank you, Elias Ward. He gave a tired smile. We're not home yet, Princess. And they'll be coming, she nodded. Then let's make sure we're ready. The stolen scout ship shook violently as it entered a cloud of asteroid dust. Elias Ward fought with the controls, trying to stay hidden. The Skarn ships behind them were fast, but not smart. If he could keep them inside the cloud for long enough, their scanners would fail. Are we going to crash? Princess Varelia asked, gripping the wall. Only if you distract me, Ward replied with a grin. She rolled her eyes, but a small smile appeared on her face. You're either very brave or very stupid. Ward dodged a spinning chunk of rock. Bit of both. Suddenly, a laser blast from behind hit the rear stabilizer. Sparks flew. The ship dipped, then spun. Ward shouted, Hold on. The ship crashed into the side of a hollow asteroid. It didn't explode, but it hit hard enough to knock both of them off their feet. Darkness filled the cabin. The engines went silent. Smoke rose from the back panels. Ward coughed, then pushed himself up. Well, that was a rough landing. Varelia sat up slowly, rubbing her elbow. Are we alive? For now, Ward said, limping to the control panel. But the ship's fried. We won't be flying out of here. She looked around. So now what? We hide. We wait. Then we move. Back on the Skarn warship. Commander Draw slammed his fist on the command table. His prey had escaped. Again. He stared at the tracking data. The human ship had disappeared. Inside the asteroid field. Dangerous to follow. But Draws was not afraid of danger. He was afraid of failure. Send scouts. He barked. Find them. I want the princess returned. And the human dead. Inside the dark asteroid, Ward set up a small camp using emergency gear. A heat lamp glowed dimly between them. Varelia sat close to it, silent, thinking. You've done this before, she said finally. Ward nodded. Too many times. You fought the Skarn in the border wars. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled back his sleeve, revealing a burn mark on his forearm. They attacked a farming colony where I grew up. No soldiers, just families. My brother didn't make it. Varelia lowered her gaze. I'm sorry. Ward shrugged. I survived. Learned how to fight. Got good at it. Still, you chose to come for me. Why? Ward leaned back. Because no one else did. Your mother's army was too afraid to act. The council talked in circles. Someone needed to do something. I've never been good at waiting. There was a long pause. Varelia whispered, they were going to use me, change me. Take my DNA and twist it into weapons. Ward looked at her sharply. You mean genetic experiments? She nodded. They call it Project Rebirth. They believe Zolari blood holds the key to stronger soldiers. Ward clenched his jaw. Then we need to stop them, not just escape. You're one man, she said. And I'm not a soldier. Ward met her eyes. You don't have to be. You just have to believe we can fight back. A day later, the Skarn scouts finally found the asteroid. Ward and Varelia heard the drilling. Sounds from above. The enemy was cutting into the rock. We have to move now, Ward said. Packing quickly, they escaped through a narrow tunnel in the asteroid's lower half, crawling through ice and sharp stone. On the other side, Ward had a plan. Earlier, he had discovered something buried in the asteroid, a broken-down transport ship, half frozen but still intact. It had belonged to an old Zolari science crew, forgotten until now. We might be able to fix it, he said. It's a long shot. Varelia climbed into the cockpit and smiled. This ship runs on royal biocodes. Only a Zolari of the bloodline can power it. She placed her hand on the control orb. The ship hummed to life. Ward laughed. You just became our ticket out of here. The ship wasn't perfect. The engines were weak. The shields barely held. But it could fly. As they lifted off from the asteroid, the Skarn ships gave chase again. Varelia handled the controls, dodging laser fire while Ward returned fire with the ship's small cannons. The battle was intense. Explosions lit up the sky behind them. One Skarn fighter got to close. Ward hit it with a direct shot, sending it spinning into an asteroid. Another enemy fired a missile that rocked their ship badly. Smoke filled the cabin. We're not going to make it, Varelia shouted. Double quotes, yes, we are, Ward yelled back. There's an old wormhole gate up ahead. If we could reach it, we'll be out of their range. She pushed the ship forward. The gate appeared, glowing faintly in the distance. The enemy ships followed closely. One more blast would destroy them. Ward grabbed the emergency power core and tossed it into the engine socket. This might kill us faster, but it might just work. The ship surged forward with a sudden burst of speed, just enough to enter the wormhole. The light swallowed them whole. Back in Zolari space, Queen Thalshara stood in her private chamber, staring out the window. Days had passed. No message. No signal. Nothing. She feared the worst. Still, she held onto hope. Then, an officer ran in. Majesty, there's something approaching orbit. A ship. One of ours, but very old. Her heart stopped. She rushed to the command platform. On the screen, a damaged Zolari science vessel appeared. It was barely flying. Its wings burned, its lights dim. Then, a message came through Varelia's voice, tired but strong. Mother, I'm coming home. The old Zolari science vessel shook as it came out of the wormhole. Elias Ward held onto the side rail, breathing hard. Smoke filled the cockpit. Sparks flew from the ceiling panels. We're still in one piece, he said, coughing. Princess Varelia stayed focused on the controls. Her hands were steady, her eyes sharp. The engines are dying. We don't have long before the ship gives up. Through the cracked view window, they saw the blue glow of Zolari space. Finally, home. But behind them, the Skarn fighters had slipped through the wormhole faster than expected. They followed us, Ward said, shocked. They must have locked onto our engine trail, Varelia replied. We need to land before they catch us. The Queen's command ship was orbiting, close to the outer defense ring. Queen Thalshara stood tall at the viewing deck, watching the small ship on the screen. It's her, she whispered, eyes wide with emotion. It's really her, Majesty, a captain said. The ship is damaged. Skarn warships are closing in. They'll intercept her before she reaches the surface. Thalshara's hand tightened around the edge of the console. Prepare a rescue squad. Send fighters. Now. But if we fire first, it may, I said now. Back. On the science vessel, Ward locked in the landing sequence. He turned to Varelia. Get to the escape pod. I'll guide the ship down. I'm not leaving you, she said firmly. We'll both die if you stay here, Ward said. This old ship is going to break apart. If you reach the ground, your people will protect you. Varelia looked at him for a moment, then nodded. Slowly, don't die, Ward. I've come this far, he said, forcing a smile. Might as well see it through. She moved to the escape pod, sealed the hatch, and launched it. The small pod shot forward, heading toward the royal landing bay. Ward stayed behind, fighting the controls. The two Scarn fighters closed in. One of them fired. A direct hit tore off the side wing. Alarms blared. Ward growled under his breath and jerked the controls left. The ship rolled, spun, and crashed into the upper atmosphere of the Zalari capital. Varelia's escape pod hit the landing bay with a loud thud. Guards rushed forward. The Queen herself stood at the edge of the platform, trembling with emotion. As the hatch opened, Varelia stepped out, bruised, tired, but alive. "Mother," she said. The Queen ran to her and pulled her into an embrace. Tears falling freely, the royal guards looked away, giving them privacy. "You came back." Thalshar whispered. "You're safe. Because of him," Varelia said. "Because of the human." Up above, Ward's ship came crashing through. The clouds like a comet on fire. Scarn ships fired again. But Zalari fighter jets, ordered by the Queen herself, finally arrived. They flew fast, weapons ready. The sky turned into a battlefield. One Scarn fighter was destroyed by a Zalari missile. The second tried to retreat but was chased down and blasted out of the sky. Ward's ship kept falling. He pulled the emergency eject lever. The pilot's seat launched from the wreck just seconds before the ship exploded in the forest valley. Outside the capital. Ward hit the ground hard, rolled, and groaned in pain. His armor was broken. His leg was injured. But he was alive. He laughed weakly, still breathing. Zalari soldiers found him minutes later. When they scanned him and saw the human ID code, they were confused. One soldier raised his weapon. "Drop your gear." Ward raised his hands. "I'm the reason your princess is back. Maybe don't shoot me just yet." They took him into custody, but didn't hurt him. Hours later, he was placed inside a medical chamber at the royal base. His wounds treated by Zalari doctors. He refused full healing, just asked for his leg to be patched up. "I've had worse," he said. Varelia entered the room quietly. Ward looked up from the bed. "You made it, thanks to you," she replied, walking closer. She sat beside him. For a few seconds, they didn't speak. The air between them felt warm, respectful. "The Queen wants to see you," she said finally. "She's changed." Ward raised an eyebrow. "Changed how?" "She's proud. But more than that, she's grateful." He leaned back, tired. "Good. I didn't come here for a reward." Varelia smiled. "She knows." Later that day, in the Grand Hall, the Queen stood before the people. The room was filled with nobles, commanders, and citizens who had come to witness history. Princess Varelia stood by her mother's side, dressed in ceremonial robes. Then the doors opened, and Elias Ward walked in, limping slightly, dressed in clean armor. A single Terran flag patch was stitched to his shoulder. Every eye turned toward him. He stopped before the Queen. "Elias Ward," she said loudly, "a warrior of Earth, a man with no army, no orders, and no title. Yet you did what empires could not." Ward nodded. "I just did what was right." The Queen stepped down from the throne platform, something no monarch had done in centuries. She stood face to face with him. Then, before everyone, she bowed. The crowd gasped. "I owe you my daughter," she said quietly. "And my heart." Ward was silent. Then, with a respectful nod, he bowed back. The hall erupted in quiet, respectful applause. Outside the palace, the sky was calm. Varelia joined Ward on the balcony. "So, what will you do now?" she asked. "Probably leave," Ward said. "I'm not good at staying in one place. There's still danger out there. The Scarn aren't finished. Then maybe I'll stay a little longer," he said with a smirk. She smiled. "I'm glad you came, human." "I'm glad I did too," he said. The stars burned bright above the Zalari homeworld as Elias Ward and Princess Varelia prepared for their next challenge. The Scarn Dominion was far from defeated. Though their daring escape had saved the princess, the enemy fleet was still on their tail. Their battered ship hovered above the planet's atmosphere, engines struggling under the strain of battle damage. Sensors beeped warnings. Scarn warships had regrouped and blocked their path to the Royal Fleet safe zone. Ward's jaw tightened. "They want us dead. We need a plan fast." Varelia stared out at the blinking red dots on the holomap, each representing an enemy fighter. If we break through the wormhole network, we can reach the outer colonies. From there, the Queen's fleet can help. Ward shook his head. That's risky. The wormholes can collapse at any time. We'll be trapped, but it's the only way to lose them, she said firmly. Ward nodded reluctantly. All right, we go through the wormhole, but we need to move before they close the gate. Back on the Zalari capital, Queen Thalshara stood before her war council. Her face was pale but determined. We must prepare defenses. The Skarn will not give up their prize easily, she said. Commander Velcran spoke up. Majesty, we can't risk an all-out war. We still lack the full strength to fight them. The Queen's eyes blazed. Then we use what we have wisely. The future of my people depends on my daughter's safe return. Ward and Varelia prepared their damaged ship for the jump. The engines roared to life. Though they sputtered and coughed, smoke billowed from the rear vents. Varelia sat at the controls, her fingers flying over the panel. Ready when you are. Ward glanced at the approaching Skarn fighters. Here they come. Lasers shot past their hull, shaking the ship violently. Ward took a deep breath. Hold tight. With a sharp lurch, the ship entered the wormhole. Time and space twisted around them as they sped through the glowing tunnel. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently. Alarms blared. We're caught, Varelia yelled. The wormhole is collapsing behind us. Ward gripped the armrest. We have to push forward or get stuck. The ship passed through the edge of the wormhole just as it exploded behind them. Bright energy waves rippled out, knocking the ship off course. Varelia fought to steady the controls. I'm trying. The engines won't hold much longer. Ward looked at the flickering control lights. We have to outlast them. Aim for the outer colony station. It's the closest safe spot. Skarn fighters swarmed behind them, firing relentlessly. Ward used every trick he knew. Sharp turns, sudden dives, and bursts of speed from the damaged engines. One Skarn fighter tried to flank them on the left. Ward fired the ship's small cannons, hitting the enemy's wing. The fighter spiraled out of control and crashed into a nearby asteroid. Varelia's eyes sparkled with hope. We did it, Ward smiled briefly. One down, many to go. As they neared the outer colony, the damaged ship barely held together. Sensors showed critical engine failure. A sudden jolt threw Ward against the console. Engines are dying fast, Varelia said urgently. We can't make it to the colony station if they keep attacking. Ward's face hardened. Then we fight. He powered up the ship's limited shields and weapons systems. Ready to go loud? He asked. Varelia nodded, determination shining through her exhaustion. The final battle began. Skarn fighters closed in from all sides. Ward fired with precision, taking out enemy ships one by one. Varelia maneuvered the ship expertly, dodging blasts and weaving through debris. The small ship was like a cornered animal, fighting for its life, despite the damage and danger. Ward's human spirit burned bright. He refused to give up suddenly. The ship's main power core sparked violently, cores overheating. Varelia shouted. Ward grabbed a nearby emergency power cell. This will give us a burst, but it might blow the whole ship. We have no choice, Varelia said. Ward inserted the power cell. The ship surged forward with renewed speed. Skarn fighters scrambled to keep up. The ship broke through the final line of enemy ships and docked at the outer colony station. The crew there rushed to help, repairing the damaged ship and tending to Ward and Virelia. As they rested, Varelia turned to Ward. Without you, I would still be a prisoner. Ward shook his head. We save each other. Word of their return spread quickly. Back on Zalari homeworld, Queen Thalshara prepared to welcome her daughter and the human warrior who had saved her. The Empire was forever changed by their bravery. The story of Elias Ward and Princess Varelia was no longer just about survival, it was about hope. The great hall of the Zalari Palace was filled with light and soft music. It was a day of celebration, yet beneath the joy lay a deep, powerful feeling, relief. Queen Thalshara stood near the throne, her violet eyes shining brighter than ever. She had waited so long for this moment. Her daughter, Princess Varelia, was finally home. Beside the queen stood Elias Ward, the human warrior who had crossed stars and dangers to bring her daughter back. The hall was packed with nobles, soldiers, and citizens. All had heard the story. The brave human who dared to enter enemy space alone and rescue the princess from the terrible Scarn Dominion. The doors opened, and Varelia stepped in. She looked tired but strong. Her eyes searched the room, and when they found her mother, she smiled. "Mother," she said softly. Thalshara's face broke into a rare, gentle smile. Then, without a word, she moved quickly and embraced her daughter. The crowd watched in silence. Tears streamed down the queen's face. These were not tears of weakness, but tears of deep love and relief. Ward watched quietly from the side. He had never expected such a warm welcome on his homeworld. Soldiers returned from battle with medals, but little warmth. He felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Varelia. "Come," she said. "Mother wants to speak with you." Together, they walked to the throne. The queen looked at Ward with new respect. "You saved my daughter," she said. "Not just with weapons, but with courage. You showed us what true strength is." Ward bowed his head. "I only did what was right." The queen nodded. Then she surprised everyone. She stepped down from her throne and bowed deeply to Ward. The hall gasped. Thalshar raised her head. "In my people's history, a queen never lowers herself before a stranger. But today, I honor you, Elias Ward, as a hero, as a friend." From that moment, the Zalari Empire and the human world began a new chapter. Ward was invited to stay as an honored guest and advisor. Though he was a warrior, he knew peace was a greater battle. Days passed as the queen and her council met with humans and Zalari alike. Plans were made to strengthen defenses, share technology, and build alliances. Varelia spent time learning about humans, their history, culture, and hopes. She grew close to Ward, seeing not just a soldier, but a person with dreams and scars. One evening, on the palace balcony, Varelia and Ward looked out at the stars. "The galaxy is changing," she said. "There is still danger, but also hope." Ward smiled. "Humans have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. I believe it." She laughed softly. "You've taught me a lot." Ward looked at her seriously. "You taught me something too. That courage isn't just about fighting. It's about never giving up on those you care about." They stood quietly, the cool night air filled with possibility. Months later, a new fleet was launched, a symbol of unity between the Zalari Empire and their human allies. Queen Thalshara watched proudly as the ships sailed into space, ready to defend peace and freedom. The story of the princess, the human warrior, and the tears of a queen became legend. And across the stars, many whispered the same truth: when humans rise, hope shines brightest.